The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Get ready to dive into the comic book realm where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. A source material and tear the panels apart. Welcome to the source material show now. We don't hold back, we won't let you down. From Batman to Spider-Man, it's all fair game. We'll talk about the heroes, the villains, and everything in between. Oh
yeah. I think it's funny that you think you could go out on your own, but they always come back. They always come back. And here he is, Mr. I want my own feed. I want my own shit. I wanna be my own guy. And look at you, back in the Radulich and Broadcasting Network family, where you belong.
Oh,
Never leaving.
never going away. Wow, that was I don't get to listen to the whole source material song very often. Usually I just have like a 20, not even that, probably like 10-15 second clip of that playing.
Yeah, as soon as your
for my intro.
as soon as your panel's apart, we're done. You're
Yeah,
into your
yeah.
thing.
Right. So it's a fun little jaunt to listen to the whole actual song. Welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And we're heading back to Charming.
From Broom.
You ready, Mark? Yeah.
Oh, I'm on.
Boy, did that. I would want to say it evolved, but some would say it devolved.
You can always tell when we're bored.
That third volume, boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
But no, we come out of that with Badman Sid and Vroom Vroom and Mongo Read Good.
Yes,
but
sir.
now we've got volumes 4, 5, and 6. That granted, we're only going to be talking about 4 this first episode. It's going to be split into 3 episodes for the feed, but we're going to be talking 4, 5, and 6 right now. I mean, Mark, this is Mark's bookshelf, right?
No, as a matter of fact, this was more. We had done Sons of Anarchy, the show, and when I saw they were comics, I'm like, oh well, we should kind of whip through this entire series. We'll break these up over a couple of episodes. I actually don't own 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, okay.
I went to buy them. They're like out of print or something. I can't get them off of Amazon, so I had to put on my pirate hat.
Oh, sailed the 7 seas.
I sail the high seas, sir. I went down to J.V. Jones's locker and I sat in it, and I read these books.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, I think I could have bought volume 4, but volume 5 and 6 I think are out of print now, from what I could tell when I went to Amazon. And like you could buy them on like eBay or like specialty bookstores that still had them, but they were like $30 or $40 a piece.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're out of print then. I mean, if they know if it's out of print, the price is going to go up, and that's usually what you see.
Yep.
So yeah, that's unfortunate.
So I had to read them. I had to read them as digital floppies.
Oh well, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, our first volume 4 here is going to be issues 15 through 18. And do you remember much of the sentiment that we came away with? I mean, from the first 3.
I do. I think where we landed, I think a fair assessment of the Sons of Anarchy books is: do you like crime noir? Well, if you do, here's and you like the characters from Sons of Anarchy, here's a nice little supplement of further stories of this gang. I think the other thing that we thought about was we were wondering if these were unused television scripts
Yeah.
that got turned into these comics, because I couldn't tell you any major differences between what I read in the comics and what we saw on TV. There's the occasional like side, like we'll talk about it with one of these. But like you get like Happy's origin story.
Yep,
That's probably
yep.
not an episode unless it tied into the larger narrative. That wasn't going to be something they were going to get into in the show.
Right. And I remember our last discussion, I did say I wanted to see a story about Happy, because we got the Tig backstory. And I think one of the main players that we usually see on TV is Happy, but he's more of like they can only shine a light on so many members of SAMCRO. And Happy is just kind of like this one guy who's like, he's always the one that can do the dirty deeds if they need to be done, but you don't really know much. You got it. But you don't know much about what his history was at all,
Right.
and they don't do any episodes to focus on him. So at the end of the first 3, I was like, man, I really want to see a Happy issue. And I was so excited that we actually get to delve into that. And that's kind of what this 4th volume is. It's 4 issues 15 through 18, but each story is focusing on a member of SAMCRO. I think our first one focuses on Jax, the second one's on Juice, then our third one's on Bobby, and finally Happy. And we kind of get either side story.
I love the Bobby story.
Oh yeah, that was good. It was a fun one.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of what we get here in this 4th volume. So I'll go down through my synopsis unless you got anything you want to say here before I jump into that.
No, I want to honestly, Jesse, I'm on your bike riding bitch tonight.
Woo! All right.
My pelvic area is nestled right up against you as we ride this motorcycle together.
Jeez.
I'm hanging on to you tightly.
There's a joke, and I know I'm going to forget, but there's a joke in this book where I think it's in the next story, but either way, I know I'm going to forget to bring it up, but they do not want Tig to ride bitch with them.
That is correct. That's right. See, everyone's just like, why does Mark have to make it weird? Mark got the weirdness from the book. And
yeah, it's coming from the book. Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, well, okay, so let me break down our creative team here real quick, which is not much of a big change from what we had before. Ed Brisson writing all 4 of these issues. Matthias Bergara is what I'll go with here on art. Our colorist for issue 15 was Michael Spicer. And then it looks like Paul Little did the last 3 issues of this volume, 16, 17, and 18. And then lettered, and I think it's always been lettered by Ed Dukeshire, I'm pretty sure. So that is our creative team. So issue 15, Gemma Teller's SUV gets stolen. So Jax leads the Sons of Anarchy to recover it and assert their dominance, a quest that takes them to Stockton and a confrontation with Kyle Hobart. Now, do you remember Kyle at all?
No.
Okay. I think it was the first season. There was like some type of a carnival that was happening at these kids at the school. And this previous member showed up and they had kicked him out. And the guy whose tattoo they burned off of him. Exactly. So that's who this Kyle guy is.
Yeah.
So this happens after this, but anyway, so they run into Kyle Hobart, a disgraced former SAMCRO member. Kyle's betrayal in 2003, when he left Opie Winston to face a 5-year sentence alone, continues to haunt him. Now working as a mechanic, Kyle has stripped the stolen SUV, complicating his already fraught relationship with the club. When Kyle's son, Charlie, intervenes with a shotgun, the conflict exposes the personal cost of SAMCRO's violent world. Jax ultimately spares Kyle and Charlie, delivering a warning to stay out of Charming and urging Kyle to break the cycle of violence for his son's sake. This moment of mercy reveals Jax's internal conflict as he grapples with the way Jax is always conflicted.
Yes.
Always conflicted. All right, issue 16, we focus on Juice. Juice finds himself entangled in a web of lies when his business partner, Vince, claims his ex, Evan, is blackmailing him over a sex tape.
This was good, too. There are a couple of these where I wish I could have seen them in the show. This was one of them.
Yeah.
I would have loved. We'll talk about it. You're just trying to get through your plot synopsis, and so I'm sorry, Robert.
Oh, you're right.
But but I tell you, like, there's a handful of these issues where I was like, oh my god, this story is so good, and like I would have loved to have seen. It's different to see something dramatic played out in the written word as opposed to on television. Like, when we get to it, I really need to talk about when Juice catches up with the guy that is said to be blackmailing his partner.
Right.
How that plays out.
Yeah, Juice agrees to help his buddy here. Then he finds out that Vince had stolen from Evan, 30 grand. So this is the guy. So Vince is his partner. Evan's this guy that supposedly had stole or was blackmailing him, but we find out that that's not the case. Evan had actually come there to find restitution because he had money stolen from him. Vince had stole money from him. So he wasn't back there to get revenge. He wasn't blackmailing him or anything. He's like, hey, you owe me money. So Vince tried to pull on Juice's heartstrings, sent him on the path to confront Evan. And then when he does confront Evan, he finds out what the truth is. The situation spirals as Juice discovers Vince fabricated the blackmail story to manipulate him into intimidating Evan. Disgusted by Vince's deceit, the
juice was loose.
Juice forces him to relinquish his share of their marijuana dispensary, ensuring Evan receives restitution. Issue 17, Bobby Munson's attempt to reconcile his biker identity with fading dreams unfolds in a chaotic
that old
night.
lady just take his shit already. My God. Having been somebody who's trying to take his shit at work and getting calls from his boss constantly, or a charge nurse, just let people poop, for God's sake.
Yes, I had that in my notes. Like, Bobby busts in on this old waitress who's just trying to take a crap to get this information. So Bobby's performing at this failing bar. Bobby agrees to entertain some drunken businessmen in exchange for a generous payout. The night spirals into reckless gambling and debauchery, culminating in the theft of Bobby's club jacket, a grave insult to the Sons of Anarchy. Bobby tracks the thieves to their hotel and retrieves his cut in a violent confrontation, restoring his pride and the club's honor, teaming up with a feisty waitress named Edith. Bobby ensures the business pay for their insult, both in cash and in their dignity. Yes, sir. And then issue 18. This is the Happy story set in 1987, where we begin in 1987. Happy Loman's gritty origin story comes to light here. Struggling to support his sick mother, Happy turns to petty drug dealing, which ends in violence when a rival gang attacks him. Sent to juvenile detention. I think it's either juvie or he went to jail. I can't remember which one, because I think they said you're either going to juvie or going to prison, one or the other. I'm pretty sure he's in juvie, but either way, he runs into Tig, which foreshadows his future with the Sons of Anarchy. Driven by desperation and anger, Happy retaliates against the gang after he gets out, killing one of the members in a violent outburst that cements his reputation for ruthlessness. Though his mother is devastated by his actions, Happy feels a grim satisfaction embracing the outlaw path. The issue ends with Happy's arrival in Tacoma, where he meets the Sons of Anarchy and begins his journey as one of the club's most feared enforcers, marking each kill with a signature smiley face tattoo. So there you go. I think that is all
Everyone has to have a gimmick.
And Happy sure does. All right. So, I mean, however you want to do this, I've got notes on each issue, just real quick stuff I can blurt out there. So if you want to just follow my lead here, we can get through it pretty quickly. But vroom, vroom. So issue 15, it was nice to see another story about Kyle, because I remember watching that episode. You could tell there was obviously history between him. And we find out that Kyle sent his son. I should say he didn't send his son, but has put his son on a path to go and steal vehicles so they can turn around and part them out. Of course, his son made the mistake of, I don't know. It might have been on purpose. I think it was on purpose, because when Jax confronts him, his son's like, that bitch deserved it.
Right.
And so his son totally meant to steal the car. Kyle had no idea. He would have never done that because he wants to stay out of the way of the club.
They
anyway.
burned this man.
Yes, they did.
He's not fucking with SAMCRO.
He is not. No, he's not. I did have to go to the wiki though, because I didn't know who Kyle Hobart was off the top of my head. So you'd probably have to be a pretty big fan, although they kind of touch on it just a little bit in the story.
Well, it's so funny when you mentioned his name, and I was like, no, I don't know who that is. When I was reading the story, and I realized that his back was all burnt up, I'm like, oh, it's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just didn't know what his name was.
Right. And yeah, when he gets into the confrontation with Jax, and he's, Jax is, saying, hey, what are you doing here? Why did you steal my mom's car? And of course, he's trying to explain, no, I did not. But Jax is like, well, somebody has to pay for this. And of course, Kyle's like, it's his son, but he isn't saying anything about it. He's like, look, I'll deal with it myself. There is a point where he starts talking about Opie, and this occurred after Opie had died in prison, this story. And he just like says, Opie comes up and he's like, Opie would still be, at least I didn't get him killed or something along those lines. I was sitting there like, dude, you're dead. Jax is going to kill you now just because you ran your mouth about that. So I was like, I put it down here. He signed his own death warrant practically, but it doesn't end up like that. We get I wouldn't say a softer side to Jax, but a more like when he finds out that Hobart is having his son go out there, he finally is kind of, he eases up. They're not going to kill anybody, but he's again sends a message that says, don't come back. I don't want to see you again, but I also want you to think about what you're doing to your son. I want you to think about how you're doing, how you're sitting him out there on the same path that you were in. Get him off of that path. You got to change. Go ahead.
So I've been thinking a lot about like the show and the Jax character, because I mentioned when we did the television reviews, and I may have even said it on the last comic review, that these are morally corrupt, evil people, but they're the heroes of the show. So the writers have to do a deft bit of moral and literal gymnastics in order to get you, the viewer, to be sympathetic towards the hero, or the show just falls apart. Which made me think about like a constant in Jax's character, because when I'm watching the show, I didn't notice it as much, but reading the book and then thinking back about the show, I'm like, oh my God, they do this every time. So Jax can't just be a straight up killer. You won't be sympathetic towards him. But the culture of this motorcycle crew has been time and time again, nobody gets away. I mean, they operate as the mafia. They operate as any street gang, any mafia, any organized criminal organization. No disrespect will be tolerated, and everything is meted out with the harshest of punishments. Death, usually. What is it? I'm Prop Joe, and I'll kill your whole family. That's it. Sorry. I'm Prop Joe, and if you fuck with me, I'll kill your whole family. So the thing about Jax is he's always letting somebody go. Jax is always like, you threw out the phrase morally conflicted. It's the one thing they're pinning their entire hopes that you'll be sympathetic to him on. Is that if Jax follows the code of the motorcycle club, then he has to kill a lot of people.
Yeah, he does. Right.
Because again, this is a soapy drama, and the comic book is just as soapy as the show. It's soapy drama about a violent motorcycle gang constantly getting into trouble. Them damn Duke boys are just always in a heap of trouble. They're either always fucking up or somebody's fucking with them. And Jax is always in this position of, I have to kill him. Like, I don't want to get too far ahead. I'm trying to stay where you are. But like, think about how many stories over the course of the 3 volumes we're going to talk about. There's a situation where somebody is somebody's family,
right?
Like a nephew or son or some shit like that, or they like. There's a reason. How many times? Take a drink in 7 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, where another mob boss was like, "This must be met with blood," and Jack's like, "I can't give him to you. Why? Why can't you? You're a deadly outlaw biker gang. Why can't you do it? Because if he does, he's a shitbag, and why would you watch this show?
You wouldn't want to root for him, right?
It is the same fucking beat in these comics over and over and over again. And when I thought about it, it's not that it made me enjoy it less, but I was definitely like, ho hum.
I've just seen this. I've seen this before, over and over and over.
Listening to a death metal album, like, yep, that's the same death metal song I've been hearing for 40 years.
And here's the other thing. Now, granted, it may not apply to this story as much, but other stories as we go through these volumes, it definitely applies. You know how the story ends with Jax.
Yeah.
So there are, yeah. So that you know who's going to usually make it out unscathed or what. So sometimes when you're reading these stories, there isn't that much consequence that could possibly be.
There's no tension to it. You know, they all live.
Right. So I think
will Opie get out of the situation with the mill? Yes.
Believe it or not, he will. Piney's going to still live. Don't worry.
You know, that last issue where they're trying to kill the Irish mobster, the IRA guy, and they're all like on the guy's got his gun in Jax's mouth, and oh no, what will ever become of Jax? He lives to the end. That's right.
There's no real, just like you said, no real tension. That's why I kind of appreciate the backstory ones a little bit more, because that stuff isn't explored, and you kind of get character development that way. You learn a little bit more about the history of what happened. The one thing that I liked about this interaction between Hobart and Jax after the rest of the guys leave, they are definitely pointing out how Jax is so conflicted with the club, which is kind of how you start Sons of Anarchy anyway. Right. But Hobart looks at him and says, this club isn't a family, it's a disease.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong. So anyway, those were my notes on the first story. I didn't know if you had any for yourself. If not, we can move on to the next one. I only got a couple on the next one.
No, let's move on to the next one.
So Juice's story. I mean, out of these four, I'd say Juice's story was the one I liked the least. And I only had one note for this story, is that Juice never seems like a really bad guy. He makes some really stupid decisions, and he is just really misguided.
He doesn't quite have the wherewithal or the wisdom of his peers.
Right. 100%.
And he's kind of a coward.
Yeah.
It did remind me, though, of the last little bit of the Sons of Anarchy. I don't know why this jumped into my head, and I'm not trying to make it weird. I'm really not. I'm not in that kind of a mood tonight. But I remember when the last little bit of Sons of Anarchy, when he's in prison and he has to like do favors to get some stuff done. There's a scene where he's gonna give up his ass, and he just does it so matter-of-factly.
Oh yeah,
it's so clinical. He's just like, well, it's like he's going to get a tooth extracted. Mm-hmm. He's about to get something extracted, all right.
Again and again and again.
There's no like pulling of the pants down while he cries. You know, I don't want to go through it. You know, there's nothing like that. He's not. It's not. You know, reffing and Too Old to Die Young. All right, boys, rape him. It's literally just like, let's go.
Yeah, it's a transaction. That's the way he looks at it.
He made a face like he was getting a tattoo, and he was getting something tattooed. All right.
Yeah, so you mentioned there was a part in here where he
all right. So the setup to this is he's in a partnership with a medical marijuana place with this guy who's gay, and the guy brings him into the office, and he has the sex tape playing. It's like, imagine, Jesse, I call you to a meeting, and it's like, you know, like, we need to talk about the podcast, and behind me is one of my escapades. What I need you to do, Jesse, is I need you to go talk to Robert and settle this business so we can make sure this podcast is running right. Is there a reason you had to play your sex tape behind you?
Didn't have to do that.
It's like, yes, that's a part of it.
You did not have to do that.
What's funny is, like, you'd think, like, oh, Radulich is making a big deal out of nothing. No, the story makes a big deal out of this. Mm-hmm. Because later on, he's like, did he play the sex tape for you?
Yeah.
Damn it, he got me too. I laughed hard at that. I really did. Yeah. I thought that was funny. But the thing I actually wanted to talk about was So allegedly, the whole thing is this guy is holding up the partner for $30,000, and there's like it's 50, something like that. He's saying if you don't pay me, I'm gonna show this tape to people. And Juice is like already like sus about it. He's like, you're like a low level piece of shit criminal in a marijuana place. Like, it's like, well, I'm gay. I don't need I don't need people seeing me doing gay stuff on film. And Charming, and he's just like, what are you fucking running for mayor? Like, what do you mean? Who cares? It's we like Radulich. If you don't give us the money, we're gonna play this tape of you. I'm not running for anything. I don't get good. Watch my fat ass have fun. You do that. See if you don't claw your own eyes out. And so he was like, I don't even understand what you're making a big deal about. And he was like, no, I can't have him see my sex tape. Fine, I'll go deal with this. And so he goes to the bar, and the guy just has this like giant overreaction to Juice, to the point where he gets into a car accident, and then he's telling him, he was like, and it's so funny because he's like he realizes that Juice has been had, and instead of like being like angry about it, he's just kind of laughing through it while he's all fucked up from the car accident. He's like, so let me get this straight, and he's explaining, he's like, no, he stole from me is what happened. He stole my inheritance, and then he's overcharging you. It's like the scene in the fucking corner, like, oh, I think an abortion costs like $400. By the time it gets to what's the brother's name from that show?
I can't remember.
It's something Happy or Lucky or Ducky or something like that.
Okay.
Sleepy Joe. I don't remember. By the time we got to the abortion, it was $600.
Yeah.
Because everyone was trying to get a piece. Anyway, my point being that the way he talked to Juice, and you could kind of see Juice have that like cartoon moment of turning into a sucker.
Oh yeah,
where he turns into a lollipop, or and a jackass, and it's like, and again, not to make another comparison to The Wire, but it's very much that bit with Omar and Brother Mozone. It's just like, it's just like he puts the gun on him, and Brother Mozone's like, he's like, you killed so and so, you killed Brandon or whatever it was, and Brother Mozone's like, you got the wrong guy. It was Butchie. No, this is season 3. And I'm trying to remember who they put Omar on, and I don't remember who they fucked up and said it was, and they said it was. It doesn't matter. My point is, Omar gets to Brother Mozone, and Brother Mozone's like, I didn't do it. You got the wrong man. He's like, oh, you're just lying to get out of this. And Brother Mozone's like, I've made peace with my God. And Omar turns into, and Omar's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Wah, 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 wah.
It's a living. And so, like, all of that to get to the bit where Omar's on the phone like, send an ambulance. Someone's been shot. It just hangs up. He's just so irritated with himself and the whole situation.
Oh,
that was Juice in that scene.
Yes,
it was. Explains to him like what happened, that he's been totally had. She's like, "Oh, I hurt this poor man for no good reason." And then he goes back and he confronts him, and the guy's just like, "It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. It was, like anything." He's like, "Look, I've got 3 nipples. I've got but what about my poor mother? Like everything." And Juice, Juice, I think they do a better job of making sympathetic than they do Jax. Juice was like, I'm going to make this right. He got as much money as he could out of the business. He threw, I think the guy's name is Evan. He threw Evan out of the business, gave the other guy back his money as much as he could, and was like, this is the best I can do, and we'll get you more as we get it. And that was it. It was, again, that same matter-of-fact business, like, I think about like Henry Rollins when he was talking about like in his spoken word, that he's just one of these guys where it's about being right and true and honest and being a man, and you must always do the right thing, as Saint Spike Lee tells us. So and that's kind of Juice, where Juice is a criminal and a murderer and a ne'er-do-well and half an idiot, but he has a code. Every man must have a code.
Yeah,
I think I've made enough references to other stuff tonight. How about you?
We've got 2 more volumes to go and 2 more stories in this. We'll find out.
Well, let me reference now Pixels.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Juice definitely. I mean, he tried to make things right here, and he
Mhm.
caught on pretty quick, which is
Yeah.
kind of good. At least he, they didn't draw it out or anything like that. As
Yeah,
soon as he
this
was like,
volume was
"Oh,
a breezy read. Like I shot through these, and because they were one shot deals.
yeah,
Um, people are just like, "What is he doing?" Don't worry about it. Wrestling fans got that joke.
that's
Um,
right.
but like I kind of liked it because like as we get into the later volumes, they're like the first couple that we read where they take a few 2 or 3 issues to kind of break through the whole story, whereas these they don't waste a lot of time. This first volume is filled with very efficient stories, which
Yeah.
I liked. I liked a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. You could They knew they had one issue to tell a story, and they got through it real quick.
Yeah, like I said, these are pulpy crime. These are like pulpy crime magazines.
Right.
You know, it's one. These are brilliantly told short stories. We're in, we're out. We're efficient. No wasted motion. It's all the things I like. I like to hit it and quit it, Jesse. You know the deal.
Oh, look out! Others stay and play. I'd rather stay and play. All right.
Yeah, it's for like 50 years now, right, Jesse?
You can never trust a Canadian, according to Bobby Munson.
I've often told Andrew and David and Chris Bailey that I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. No, like, you can't trust any people that come at you with fucking minted paper money, loonies
right.
and toonies.
That's
Goddamn
right.
Canadians with your funny money.
Yes, this Bobby Munson story was fun.
Yeah.
Watching him, all it is just him hanging out in Las Vegas, doing, at this dive bar, trying to, or Reno, I can't remember where they're at, but either way,
He's in Reno.
It's such a, it's a simple thing. Like, okay, hey, you go hang out with these bikers. They really want to treat you. They're right. They want to hang out with a real outlaw, and he goes over there and hangs out with them. And
like, what is my life right now? What? I'm a dangerous outlaw gun running biker. I'm gonna hang out with these yuppies. What is my life?
Right. So he goes over there and they get into some trouble. And they're like, let's get into some trouble.
And I need the same episode, but as part of the show Legion. So we can make it weird. And it's, I want like Munson to like just have a fucking mental breakdown in the middle of the episode and he goes all kaleidoscope.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
The Sons of Anarchy Homer trip out episode.
My favorite moment of this story is when the guys, the next morning, Bobby realizes what's happening, and him and Edith are after these Canadians and they found out where they're at.
Edith.
Sorry. All in the family.
By the way, Glenn Miller played.
I don't know the rest of that song.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Songs that made the hit parade. There you go.
Guys like us, we had it made.
Those were the days. All right, there you go.
Hang on. I got you.
Here it comes. Yes. My favorite moment out of that book is them trying to catch up to the guys the next day, and Bobby is running after them. he runs out of breath because I'm sitting there thinking, like, well, that's pretty damn realistic.
Oh yeah, the best part of the book is her like you look up a greased up fat tub of lard.
He can't keep. He's like leaning up against the wall trying to chase these guys.
Yeah, he looks like me. He looks like me when I like fucking pushed myself too much at work.
Right, dude. That's I went up the stairs today and I looked like Bobby Munson trying to run down there. So, and then if it wasn't for like him falling down accidentally, one of the Canadians falling down accidentally, they would have never caught up with this guy. But yeah, they end up, getting his cut back, and then they strip these guys. Edith was fun too. I liked watching Edith. I wanted to see both. I want to see another story of these two. I want a whole
like mini series. Give me 6 episodes of just Edith, the further stories of Edith and Bobby, and the whole time she's just calling him, "You fat motherfucker."
That doesn't get some crazy stuff there. But anyway, so yeah, I enjoyed this. I didn't know if you had anything else that you had on the
I like
Bobby
the story.
Munson.
Like I said, I think it's funny that, again, the show is written with a certain like deference and love of motorcycle culture, but I think there's also the tacit acknowledgement that sometimes, these guys die young, right? They get snuffed out in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s even. What if you make it to 50? What if you make it to 60?
Right.
You look like fucking Bobby and Piney.
Yes. Piney on oxygen.
Yeah.
Carrying a tank around.
And I think it's at some point this just stops being cool. And and you're looking back and you're just struggling to get through life, because you've made the decision to be a badass, outlaw biker. What kind of life is that when youth has left you? And you've got, all you've got left is this broken down fat body. You don't look cool anymore. And Bobby is desperately, go Bobby Elvis, desperately trying to hang on to that dangerous image. And it's like, that's what makes Edith cutting him down that much funnier, is that she gives no fucks.
Right.
And she just sees right through him. And it's sort of like a mirror image, thing of, I'm supposed to be out there dealing with murder and crime and everything, and here I am entertaining yuppies because it's all I can do to afford lunch.
Right. Right.
What has my life become? So I like the issue. That's probably not what I needed to see acted out, not like the Jew story, but it was that's a good one for the comics. That's a good one.
Oh, could you have imagined if that was an episode? I mean, because it would have threw everything into it. You didn't expect anything.
Who do you get to play her, like Jane Lynch or something? Like a young Estelle Getty.
Oh man, young Estelle Getty. Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I don't know. I have no idea.
If she was still with us, the another Golden Girl, the broad that played no, not Rue McClanahan.
Betty White.
Betty White, yeah.
Betty White. Betty White.
You just picture those words coming out of you greased up fat tub of lard
She's
coming out of Betty White's mouth.
She's got some great comedic timing. She can pull it off.
You've seen Lake Placid, right?
Yes. It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, she cuts up in that one.
Yes, she does. I remember. All right, in our final issue, like I said, I was really waiting for a happy backstory, and we kind of get it. And it's not much from what I was expecting. I'll tell you that much. I figured it was kind of a violent backstory that kind of led him into what he was doing. But yeah, my notes were, yes, indeed. We get a happy story. Tig meeting Happy was pretty cool. So we kind of get that little bit of, lore, I guess you would say. You kind of get to see Happy become or embrace the violence, not become the person that likes it. But you just see him start to embrace the violence. And I mean, it's kind of shines a light on the struggle of trying to make a legit living, especially in those types of neighborhoods. And when you, because one of the things that happens is Happy gets a job. He's working as a dishwasher. Mm-hmm. And he's just trying to help because his mom is sick. She has MS, and he's trying to get medicine for her.
Right.
And he loves his mom that much, which makes kind of what happened at the end, because when he kills the other drug dealer inside Lowe's or wherever they're at, grabs an axe and takes the axe to that guy's, and deservedly so, because that dude was that whole gang was a shitbag, a bunch of shitbags. But anyway, when he kills them, and it doesn't pick up like where he has to run. He has to get out of there because the cops are going to come and get him for murder. And he makes his way to Tacoma. So he leaves his mom. He leaves his poor mom. Now I'm sure he's probably sending her money and stuff like that, but he's in Tacoma becoming part of us.
Maybe she died of a broken heart.
Oh, that's sad. They didn't show it. That would have been sad.
Like Padme.
Like Padme?
She died of a broken heart, Jesse.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I like the I like the smiley tattoos and
Yes.
all that stuff. So I'm glad we got a Happy story, at least to explore some of his history. But anything you have to say about Happy's story here in issue 18?
Just got me thinking. There's a rap group called Consolidated from back in the 90s. Their big song was Tool and Die, and it was about gun shootings and gun control. Now, mind you, I don't remember exactly what year this came out, but they were talking about like the rise in school shootings back in the late 90s.
Okay.
Google it for me real quick. Consolidated, Tool and Die. I should play the video for you one day on the Metal Hammer of Doom jukebox.
I'm really surprised that I've never heard of these guys, to be honest, but
they did not make a huge splash. It's like the one thing that they're known for, and then the world just passed them by. They were uber political. And
this actually came out in 92.
There you go. And we're still having this, and now like this school shooting, we're just like, oh, it must be a day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
It's
disgusting.
become our country. But there's a line in the song Tool and Die about what do you do with a heavily armed youth with no respect for life? And I was thinking about like generational trauma, and I was thinking about like the lack of social contracting and community that people in certain impoverished communities, crime-ridden communities go through, to where, why does a 9-year-old commit armed robbery?
Mm-hmm.
Is a question that I get asked an awful lot. It's given what I do for a living. And I was like, well, we take for granted 2-parent households. We take for granted, stability of a roof over your head, bills being paid, food on the table. And when you don't have those things, and the generation before you didn't have them, and the generation before you didn't have them, how does a kid commit armed robbery? How does a kid pick up a gun and start shooting people? When you don't have that stuff instilled in you, and you don't have any options, and the way that the world is working, especially in your community, there's nowhere to turn to. I look at Happy, and I don't know if this was the author's intention or not, but it just made me think about how many Happies there are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids have access to high-powered killing instruments and have zero respect for life, have no moral compass, are just antisocial, amoral. And it's one of the things that I do struggle with the show and with this book is Happy's one of the heroes.
Mm.
we root for Happy. We laugh about it when that camera pans and it's like, all right, Happy, take care of it. We're like, whoo, here comes the violence.
Oh yeah. He
it's
grabs the axe.
It's like New Jack coming out in ECW. Oh shit, here comes New Jack. He's gonna hit someone with a vacuum.
Yep.
But Happy is a lot of poor kids out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people. And then we have the nerve, the temerity to ask, but why is it like this?
Right.
I mean, why is it like this?
Yeah. Yeah. And I find it interesting that as tragic as his backstory is, I mean, his actual name, I'm pretty sure, is Happy, because I think his mom was calling him that. So this isn't a nickname that the Sons gave him in any way. This is a name that he was born with, and as tragic and as violent as everything.
Opie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious as to how Opie got his name, because we learned that his name is actually different, I think, in that mill story.
Like Harry Winston.
Yeah. And I was okay. So I've got to know what I don't think we've ever been told, as far as I know. But anyway, Happy, a tragic backstory, violent backstory, and sometimes the only thing that makes him happy is the violence, though, when he is letting loose and killing somebody. And there's that right at the end. I think it's like the second to last page, maybe, before they showed like the tattoos. The tattoo artist asked him, like, how does that feel? And he just looks down, and all you see is like just this menacing grin on his face. He's like, it feels great. So anyway, yeah, like I said, wasn't too far from what I expected, but I'm glad we got a happy story. So anyway, that's all I got, man. You got anything else?
Nope, I'm ready to move on.
All right, well, there we go. That is we're just going to go right into the next one and do plugs later, or what are we going to do here?
I would say, I mean, you're the one editing this, so make your life easier. I'm writing bitch, Jesse. This is your show.
All right.
You're the one. Hang on. You're the one fucking this dog. I'm just
There
holding
it
the
is.
head.
All right. Well, then we're going to go ahead and get into push the clap button.
Wait. You want more sound effects? I can give you more sound effects. It's so fucking funny. That's so loud that you have to move your.
Loud. Way too loud.
Yeah, thank Dorian for that. You want me to hit it again?
Yeah, do it one more time. V for Vendetta. Watchmen.
That scared the fuck out of my son the first time I played. He was like a cat. He like jumped into the ceiling.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, that one was a little loud.
We could go ahead and put that in Audacity and just bring it down just a tiny little bit. Jeez, criminy.
Aren't you glad we started doing video for this?
Oh boy. My gosh. All right, let's get into Volume 5 here. Volume 5 covering issues 19 through 22. Mm-hmm. And I will jump into a synopsis unless you got anything to say before I get into it.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
To say. All right, then. Dylan Munson's arrival. You recognize that last name, people?
Yes, sir.
Let me give the creative team here. For this story, Ryan Ferrier is the writer, art by Matthias Bergara, colored by Paul Little, and lettered by Ed Dukeshire. All right, so issue 19. Dylan Munson's arrival at SAMCRO as a prospect quickly turns from an opportunity into a liability. Eager to prove himself, Dylan's impulsiveness leads to a disastrous incident during a celebratory party with the Mayans. After spilling beer on a Mayan member that was probably like 5 times his size, tensions escalate, culminating in Dylan sneaking off to discover and tamper with the Mayan stash.
Don't fucking pick a fight with Supermax.
Jeez, criminy, that dude was insane.
Yeah, he looked like, what was it? Like the guys from LAX. One of them was like Hernandez or some shit. And he was like an 8-foot tall Mexican.
It was freaking massive.
Yeah.
Caught in the act, Dylan critically injures a Mayan in a desperate fight. I think his name was Felix, jeopardizing SAMCRO's new alliance. Jax, furious with Dylan's recklessness, strips him of his prospect status in a harsh lesson delivered by Tig and Juice. The fallout from Dylan's actions leaves SAMCRO scrambling to repair the relationship with the Mayans and a lady by the name of Cassandra Wolf. The next issue, as SAMCRO prepares to clean up the mess left by Dylan's betrayal, the tension escalates when Dylan and his gang raid the Sons' stash house, taking Lila hostage. Now, I don't know if it's a stash house or it was a clubhouse, one or the other. Dylan's arrogance drives him to declare war on both SAMCRO and the Mayans, while Lila's resilience becomes her defining trait as she fights back and escapes into the night, however, gets recaptured the very next day by Dylan. Meanwhile, Jax balances his desire for vengeance with the need to navigate volatile alliances, particularly with Alvarez of the Mayans. The issue builds towards a confrontation with Lila's escape, only to be recaptured in Dylan's reckless schemes, setting the stage for a violent clash. Jax reflects on the cost of his decisions, knowing the escalating chaos threatens both his family and his club's survival. And in issue 21, the Sons of Anarchy face the web of betrayal and violence as their clubhouse they find ransacked, their safe is emptied, and ominous messages suggest the Mayans are behind the attack. Jax, however, suspects a larger conspiracy at play. As Lila remains captive under Dylan's increasingly unstable leadership, she uses her cunning to orchestrate a daring and bloody escape. Jax's investigation hints at a shadowy organization. This is not shadowy. It's Dylan's group.
Is it the fucking Illuminati?
Dylan's group of like meth heads and drug dealers that are
Yeah.
that he's put together.
I would not describe them as shadowy. Dirty,
they are not.
possibly, but
They are not. While the Sons attempt to stabilize their relationship with the Mayans, Lila's return to the Sons provides crucial insight into Dylan's betrayal. That's right. That's when they finally find out that Dylan, the prospect, is the one behind all this. The issue ends with Jax's somber reflections on the impossibility of a perfect world and the club's precarious place in it as new threats loom on the horizon. The fallout from Dylan's actions in the next issue, the final issue, reaches a crescendo as Jax negotiates with Alvarez to salvage SAMCRO's alliances. Dylan's recklessness forces Jax to make a tough decision of handing him over to the Mayans to face retribution, a brutal but necessary move to preserve the club's reputation and stability. Flashbacks to Bobby in prison. So we kind of see, a little bit of a flashback there as Bobby gets the news. It reveals that Dylan has kind of Dylan has betrayed them, and Bobby is pleading, "Don't kill him, Jax. Don't kill him. Please don't kill him."
Like Prop Joe. Like I kill him and I gotta deal with his mother at Thanksgiving.
Right. SAMCRO ends up giving the Mayans, let's try it again. SAMCRO ends up giving Dylan to the Mayans. And at the end of this, Jax did not kill him. And then our final pages are Bobby Munson coming back as he's out of prison. And he asked Jax, "Is there any new prospects?" And Jax is like, "Man, I'm sorry." He's like, "No, I understand." So it's kind of like Bobby realizes that, yeah, this guy unfortunately was, he knew Dylan was not going to be good for the club, or at least he knew Dylan messed up and consequences had to be done. And Jax tells him, "Yeah, the Mayans got him." Well, yeah, they definitely got him. And that right there is all four issues, 19 through 22 of the Dylan saga. So
what an asshole this guy is.
Gosh. I mean, right at the beginning, you're kind of wondering, okay, what happened here?
It's interesting they got Howdy Doody in the motorcycle club. That's
Well
done.
He's got a fucking mullet. He's there, big old freckles.
Ralph Mouth joining an outlaw motorcycle gang.
Yeah. So he comes in there and he thinks he's going to make a big impression. Juice takes him under his wing as his prospect, and of course, and things just kind of go off the rails from there because this guy feels like he needs to show, in that first issue when he essentially doesn't kill him right there, but he puts him in intensive care, Felix, the big dude, by hitting him with a crowbar and then taking off with this drug money. He didn't realize that you're putting the club in a pretty precarious position with a rival club by the actions that you're taking. He's an idiot.
His whole thing was he seems to think that the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club is untouchable. And they're the, something that Bobby said in the show. He was like, "We have existed due to a series of intertwining friendships with other motorcycle clubs and gangs and organizations. It's a very delicate balancing act. And when you start fucking with it, when you throw this very delicate ecosystem out of balance, everything starts to fall apart and a lot of people end up dead." And so here we have a situation where everyone has to be diplomatic, in order to get this deal done with Cassandra Cain and the Mayans.
Cassandra
and this
Cain?
Kid, whatever her name was, Cassandra Wolf.
I was trying to figure out, like, Cassandra Cain. Have I heard that before?
I haven't slept more than 4 hours since like August, dude. Leave me alone.
I'm tired.
I'm tired of it. So yeah,
it's
a very delicate balance between the Sons of Anarchy, the Mayans, and Batwoman. And another Cassandra joke.
That's okay. Now I get it.
Damn it.
Well, I was like, Kane, was this, what the hell is he doing in this? Kane.
Yeah, it's a very delicate, let me try again. It's a very delicate balance between the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club, the Mayans, and Betty, Veronica, Jughead, and Archie.
Jim Ross. And Vince McMahon.
Thank you. But he's like, I'm part of this badass motorcycle club. I can do anything I want. And it seemed like it was hinted at, but they didn't say it outright, that he was like, what do we have to do with all these dirty Mexicans for? Like why? And then he sees tale as old as time, Jesse. Then he sees one of the coloreds messing with the white woman.
Right.
He's got, and he's, got to be chivalrous in his white trashy way.
Yep.
And everyone's just like, and not a single person thought he was in the right. Not a one.
What's messed up is that how many times is he told, straighten your shit up there at the party? Right. Like Juice, first it's Tig, and Tig looks at Juice after Tig tries to straighten him out, and then looks at Juice and says, will you please take this guy out of here and get him straightened up?
Yep. And he's just full of pith and vinegar. It's one of those youth is wasted on the young situations. He does not want to listen to anybody. And then, then he walks outside and he's just all impulse disorder. He walks outside, he goes in the van, and he's like, oh, I found drugs and money. And then he tries to like justify what he's doing, and he was like, we told you do nothing.
Right.
What?
Just
what
go
is
there and
wrong with
stand.
You drink beer, fuck bitches, and go home. You couldn't handle it.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
I'll tell you what. Of all of the evil people that they've written, the Stalls and the whoever the marshal was, Donald Logue's character. Of all these evil people that they've put in Sons of Anarchy, this might be the worst character they've ever written.
Yeah,
he was utterly unsympathetic. Like with Stahl, I can see where she's coming from. She's law enforcement after all.
Right.
It's one of the things it's one of the struggles I had with this show was you're making me root for the people I want to see taken down. And you're making me root against the people whose job it is to do that. I don't like it. Like Donald Logue's character, Stahl's character, the Stahl character, a lot of the people, like, and even in the other criminals, like I could see Pope's point of view. I could see the IRA's point of view. I could see the Machete. What the hell is his name?
I can't remember what his
Danny
Trejo.
Yeah. I could see Danny Trejo's point of view. It was like his was like, no, I'm not sympathetic to you at all. I hope they boil you in your own pudding.
It was, because they tell him to stop. He then just like you said, he takes the money from the Mayans, leaves. They beat the crap out of him when he shows back up, and they say, okay, look, you're no longer part of this club. Then they walk him to the edge, ride him to the edge of town and say, never come back in here again. And he decides, you know what I want to do? That would be a good idea.
Another situation where, because Jax is conflicted and because he's family to Bobby,
right?
They should have put a bullet in the back of his fucking head and put him down like a dog. They don't, and it comes back to bite him. Of course, if they had, there would have been no story. But this is yet another thing with the Sons of Anarchy show where they don't handle their business because of whatever cockamamie justification they came up with, and it just makes it exponentially worse.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, he comes back, he robs their clubhouse, and then he makes a brilliant decision. Dylan makes a brilliant decision to go back to the Mayans.
Right.
And I don't know what is going through this dude's
because
head.
He thinks if he sells out the Sons of Anarchy, the Mayans will take him up on it.
Yeah.
Because why?
He has no idea.
Right.
Has no idea how this works. He has no idea how motorcycle clubs work, let alone the Mayans.
I can see his logic. He's an idiot, but I can see his logic.
He just killed a member of their well, of course, I don't know if he knew that at that point, but regardless,
I think he knew,
yeah, he didn't know he killed them, but he knew he beat one up pretty dang good and then took off. But then he goes back to them. He should have known he was going to be killed.
Never underestimate the combination of hubris and idiocy.
Yeah, right. There was a point in the book in that issue where I think, or I should say in that story, where they're trying to figure out who did it. Jax is standing at the wall. He sees Mayans, spray painted across it. And they know at that point it's probably not the Mayans.
Spelled with a fucking Q.
And
Mayans. MAIYG. That signal.
he says something like somebody says something to him about wonder who it was that we really pissed off, and he's like, I don't know, it's getting hard to keep track. And that is definitely a central theme to a lot of those later episodes of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. By the time you get to any one season of Sons of Anarchy, you turn into like the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the string and the board.
He's going all over the place, right? And then they really mess Dylan up finally when they get a hold of him. Like they string him up, and you thought burning the tattoo off that one guy's back was bad. They put the tattoo on Dylan's back with a knife. Happy grabs a knife and scrawls Sons of Anarchy in there. And then as he's just bloody and beaten, about dead, then they turn him over to the Mayans. And
we're done with him now. You may have his scraps.
Yeah. And they beat him. They beat him and then shoot him. So he's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the story goes, just like you said, this guy, there's almost like a bit of sympathy because he's just so dumb. But as far as a villain goes,
I have no sympathy for him.
He has no sympathy.
I don't cheer. I don't usually root for people to die. But I was in this story. I was just like, oh, I hope they kill him. I would drag him from a truck, tied to a tree.
This is getting more elaborate. Yes. The Mayans are like, no, let's just put 2 bullets in his head and we'll call it a day.
We're very efficient, say. Bang.
Call it a day.
No need to be all dramatic.
Well, I don't have any other notes. Do you got any notes on this one before we move to the next one?
Again, I laughed at the Bobby stuff, where they're calling him and they're like, Bobby, we know he's family, but he did so much bad stuff. And all I could think about was Prop Joe. It's just like, that boy always was a disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby, I mean, Bobby didn't know him very well ahead of time. So it's not like Bobby encouraged him or encouraged Jax, but it's just like, yeah, well, check him out. Feel free to check him out. And then, yeah, it was going to, if they didn't want it, he didn't.
I just love like the whole family aspect of shows like this where, my God, family is the most important thing ever. It's the life's blood of anyone's world. Then there's me, who's like, I could give a fuck less,
right?
I might, like outside of like my kids, my parents maybe, but like, I when I think about like if somebody told me like, oh hey, we want to put this cousin of yours in the gang. Oh, they fucked up. We got to shoot him. Like, what are you telling me for? I'm trying to watch my stories. To get your business.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Every life is precious.
Well, one less person I got to see at the Thanksgiving dinner, I guess.
No fucking shit, man.
All right. Well, let's get into our final story. This is Sons of Anarchy issues 23 through 25, written by Ryan Ferrier, Matthias Bergara, again on the art, Paul Little on colors, and Ed Dukeshire on letters. So issue 23 opens in Belfast, Ireland, setting the stage with escalating tensions in the arms trade that later explode into violence. 6 months later in Charming, California, SAMCRO members discuss a high-risk arms deal with the IRA amidst personal turmoil. Jack struggles with the morality of their choices. This is very early because Clay's still alive. While playing,
by the way, they draw Clay like fucking grape ape. Like, I understand that. Oh, what is the actor's name?
Ron Perlman. There we go.
I understand Ron Perlman doesn't look evolved, but they full on drew him like Donkey Kong in this fucking book, man.
Yeah. Jack struggles with the morality of their choices while Clay remains ruthlessly pragmatic. Simultaneously, during this, Opie, so this is after Donna has gotten killed. He's kind of gone away from the club for a little bit. I don't know if he knows at this point if the club was behind Donna. I can't remember where that was when he found that out in the story. I should say.
At some point, he knows that it was Clay that ordered the hit and that it was meant for him. And then when he goes to Jax and was like, I want to kill Clay, and they're like, you can't. I'm like, then why am I in this club?
This has got to be in between that because
the rules only apply to you guys, never to anyone else.
And shortly after Clay gets shot by Opie, he's on the oxygen tank himself.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so this
I
has got
was
to
trying
be.
to remember like who turned into Piney, and it was Clay.
It was Clay. Yeah. So this is between that when Donna has gotten killed. This is Death Wish Opie, which is, you remember we were talking about how it just seems like he has a death wish.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
just,
Death
like,
Wish
provoking
Opie.
people like, come on, kill me. Come on. Come on,
Mhm.
kill me now.
Kill me now. Get to the chopper. Go cut some wood at the mill. All right. So Opie reemerges in rural charming, intervening in the volatile activities of a local family involved. Well, the dad owns a mill. This is an interesting setup. Like, he doesn't want the mill to close, so the best idea not to get the mill to close is to go into the meth business.
It's never a bad idea to make meth. Okay, you can pay for your cancer treatments. You can save the mill. The only other way, there are only two ways to save your town, Jesse.
Oh, okay, all right.
There's only two ways to save you from financial woes, from drowning in debt, and that is one, make meth, a common practice, and I think so, it makes use of one's chemistry skills, as we learned in Breaking Bad. The other one, strip show. You know, an all male review. Female strip show, whatever the case may be. Those are the only two ways to make money in this country.
Well,
taking off your clothing or making and selling drugs. This has been your public service announcement. You're welcome.
Like I said, I need to talk to Mick about this OnlyFans stuff so I can learn what I need to do. I gotta make lots of money.
I'm gonna make all the money. just pictures of you naked reading comic books.
Oh, wow. What book are we reading today?
This is, daintily placed book.
Turning the pages with my junk.
There you go. Yeah, you gotta be creative. Everyone has to have a gimmick, Jesse. I'm telling you, you and Evan playing strip snap, like, like one of you like take your shirt off, take this. It's like, and if you want to see me take my pants off, you contribute to my OnlyFans, $10 a month.
Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, geez. Anyway, Opie has now decided to start. I think he worked for this.
My fault. You're the one that brought up OnlyFans.
Yeah,
I was just rolling with it.
There are times where I decide not to say things, and that was not one of them. Should have decided not to say something.
You know what you have in me.
Opie is trying to find some work, so he goes back to this mill. He had worked for this guy before, and he gets there as soon as he meets the boss. He then meets the boss's son, which I think his name is. Hold on, I have it here. Dalton, and Dalton is involved in the meth trade to try and keep this
Dalton
mill
is an
open.
asshole, is what Dalton is.
Yes, he is. All right, so he gets involved there. Meanwhile, the Son's alliance with the IRA is tested when a setup leads to a deadly shootout. Opie has a violent confrontation at a local bar because of these guys were threatening apparently the boss of the mill, and he decided to go in there. And like I said, Death Wish Opie, he was just looking for a fight. The first issue 23, ends with SAMCRO chasing their enemies after a double cross, leaving readers with unresolved tension and a wounded Chibs. Chibs ends up getting hurt in this. I think he breaks his arm or messes his arm up pretty bad. In the next issue, SAMCRO intensifies their operations, interrogating an Irish gangster. So they had that shootout. One of the Irish guys got left. So they grab this guy and they start interrogating him for some information. On a hidden warehouse, leading to a tense and bloody confrontation with some Irish rivals. Meanwhile, Opie is drawn into helping Dalton, whose reckless behavior endangers his family's lumber mill. Opie's inner struggles with grief and responsibility take center stage as his father, Piney, and Gemma attempt to ground him amidst this chaos. The Sons' attempt to broker a truce devolves into violence, forcing them to navigate a chaotic firefight to survive. Now, Opie's conflict with Dalton escalates when armed thugs arrive at the mill, setting up a high-stakes shakedown. So yes, Opie and Dalton start to get into it, and it turns out some of the other guys that are working at the mill decide to get Dalton's back. There's going to be a fight, and I think they end up taking him. They essentially tie him up, and they have the dad tied up, and they're like, okay, they're out of the way. We can do the meth like we want to do because we can't stop this meth operation. Whatever. All right. The issue leaves readers on edge as Opie faces overwhelming odds with the club's business and personal loyalties hanging in the balance. In our final issue in the rain-soaked Oswald lumber territory, this is where the mill's at, Piney and Bobby, but Piney and Bobby, I don't think it was Piney and Chibs. Piney and Chibs were searching for Opie, if I remember correctly. Uncovering a dangerous situation where Jacob, Dalton's father, was tied up. And Piney confronts a hostile guard, escalating into violence, only to discover it's Opie tied up alongside Jacob. Dalton arrives, threatening all their lives, but tensions boil over when his abusive control of his son. Well, let's just put it this way: Dalton goes off the deep end, and it leads to a chaotic and deadly confrontation. So they get into a big fight. Jacob, I don't think gets killed. He ends up getting knocked out. And then I'm trying to remember how this ends. Do they end up just telling Dalton to get the hell out? Like, to leave Charming and never come back?
I don't remember. I know at the end, Chibs and Opie show up at the warehouse and kill the fat Irish guy.
Yeah. I'm scrolling back through it here just to kind of look and see what was going on. But I'm pretty sure that they essentially just take Dalton and they are like, get the hell out. But anyway, this was essentially two stories in one.
Right.
And I feel like, I think this 25th issue was longer than the rest of them. Because I noticed that the page count was a little bit more. So I feel like they were just like, let's get it done in 25. So I bet you the Opie story and this the IRA story were two separate stories, and they were going to have probably a 26th issue, but they probably got canceled or whatever. This is okay. A nice round number would be 25. I don't know why, but that's what it felt like to me. We got two stories that are happening at the same time. I mean, about the only thing I could say is like Opie, we get another Opie story. We hadn't had an Opie story here for a while. We didn't get any in volumes 4 or 5. So it's kind of nice to see him. He's trying to get his head right. He's trying to get away from the club, but he can't. Again, it's a situation where as much as he doesn't want to leave, I remember they show up and they're like, okay, they help him out and they're like, come on, help us out now. And he's like, I'm not coming back with the club, not yet. So, it's just, it kind of shines a spotlight on Opie's struggles after Donna had been killed. And the IRA stuff, I mean, just like you said, dude, it was inconsequential.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew who was going to be walking out of there. There was there wasn't anything. And unless I'm missing something, there wasn't any Easter eggs for me in these. So I don't know.
I was more interested in Opie's kind of internal struggle, the mourning the loss of his daughter, feeling like a lot of the Opie stuff after Donna's death is Opie feeling like he finally saw the club for what it was. He could finally see through the code of the Matrix and see that this club was what the guy in the first story called it. It's a cancer. It's a disease.
Yeah, it's a disease.
And so he's just trying to figure out like how to get over the loss of his wife. If you'll remember, like he came back to SOA because he wasn't making enough money to take care of his family. He's a lone provider. I'm guessing he's not a Mensa student, and he makes labor wages, not a wage that can really take care of 2 kids and a wife and all the bills that go with it. Facts can confirm. So, when you're the lone provider, you're like, what else can I do to make money? And he was like, well, poor Opie, if I just go back to the SOA for a little bit, I can make money really quickly. Do you know how many days I've woken up in recent history and thought, is there any possible way I can mule drugs for an organization just long enough to pay off my debts, and that they'll just let me leave and I won't get caught by cops? Can we make that happen?
Yeah.
Like, I completely sympathize with Opie. He was like, I just need to do this long enough to put some money away from my family so we're not struggling. And he got a dead wife for his troubles.
Yeah.
And so for him, the interesting stuff of the story is him dealing with his own internal guilt, his feeling betrayed by the club. Because not only do they kill his wife because they were trying to kill him for something he didn't actually do. Like, they think he snitched to Stahl, I think it was, and he didn't. And they're like, well, we again, just like The Wire, we can't be sure, so just kill him anyway. And, like, the great irony of the constant refrain of "we're a family" is we're a family so long as you're useful and you know we don't have a reason to kill you. But as soon as we think you snitched or you did something wrong or you're out of line or it just becomes a matter of convenience for us, you're dead and nobody cares.
Right.
And Opie figures that out and he's like, well, what do I do now? Wife is dead, kids are gone. I'm a man without a country. And so he goes here, but Opie still, Opie was like the heart and soul of that show, which is something that we talked about when we reviewed it.
Right.
He really, like, more so than Jax, I felt like Opie was really, maybe like Jax might be the heart and soul, but Opie was like the moral center. He was the moral compass of that show. And he just kind of saw it for what it was. Like we talk about wrestlers and Vince McMahon, and you really had to kind of buy into the WWE with religious zealotry or working for that company, especially when they used to work almost daily the entire year and some days twice a day.
Right.
Like if you didn't buy into this is not just a job and not just a wrestling organization, it's a religion, it's your culture. Vince McMahon is the high priest.
Yep.
Then you weren't going to make it.
Right.
And Sons of Anarchy is kind of the same thing. And when Opie figures that out, when Opie's like, this is horseshit, and I don't buy into it anymore, he's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? It's taken up so much of my life. The phrase I've been using lately, and I know you've seen because you've actually like watched movies and are aware of culture. That scene at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's stealing the idol off the pedestal, and he has to put something down of equal weight, or he'll set the trap off and die. I talk about how when people remove things from their life, they remove drugs, sex, smoking, overeating, over shopping, a person. They remove something from their life that plays such a central role in it, and it's it just runs their life. You have to find something of equal weight to replace it with, or you end up just setting off that internal trap in your mind, and it kills you.
Yeah, everything's off balance.
Right. So there's Opie who hasn't found his bag of sand yet to replace the idol.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're with me.
Right. No, I get it.
Explain that. So for me, that was the more interesting stuff in the story. Killing the Irish guy, as funny as the Irish character was, I didn't care about any of that. And when he almost kills Jax, I don't care either because I know Jax is going to live till he dies. Right.
I think I mentioned how there wasn't any Easter eggs in here. Scanning the issue again, there was a lot about Chibs. I forgot that was kind of like the main drive for this Irish guy. He didn't care. He wanted Chibs there, and Chibs had gotten his arm hurt, and then was, of course, trying to go find Opie.
Right. And we never give up. We never give up our family. We never give up a gang member until it's wildly convenient for us. And then
until Clay starts dialing his number, and Jackson's like, "What are you doing? Don't do it." And there was this kind of showdown with Chibs and this guy. But that was really kind of all that story was just kind of giving you a little bit of backstory about Chibs and what he had done for Sam Bell when he was over in Belfast. But, I think just like you said, the more interesting part of this final book is definitely Opie. I was just looking through the last few pages of the Opie story, and he's beating the crap out of Dalton and Chibs and
Stop! He's already dead.
Pretty much. They're like, get off of him. And Chibs looks at him, and I'm looking at the page right now. He says, "You're okay, brother. That's it. Done now. We can move on." And Opie, after, of course, this definitely seems like something that would happen after this outburst of rage. He's then sitting there weeping.
Yeah.
He's weeping, and he's like, I can't move. I can't go on.
The guy is fucking traumatized.
Yeah. Right.
And here's the other thing to remember. Remember, this is a very masculine culture. like old school masculine boys don't cry culture, and he has had to carry so much, and he has lost so much. You know, I don't want to drag the podcast in a direction neither one of us really wants it to go in. So I will just say this:
Politics. No, I'm just kidding.
politics. The thing that got me back into therapy was the intermittent crying spells, where you couldn't talk to me without me breaking into tears, or I would be thinking about something or see something, and I'd be at work, and I would have to run into the bathroom, and I would bawl my eyes out. Never mind some of the other stuff that was going on mentally with me at the time. I knew I had to start talking to somebody when I couldn't go a day without crying. And nothing that anything was necessarily happening to me. It wasn't, like every day there was a, I mean, you could kind of make that argument, but I will give certain people in my life the benefit of the doubt. But I was definitely like overly sensitive and easily triggered through 2022, 2023. And, I couldn't hold it. I tried my best to stick my chin out and keep a stiff upper lip and, and hold it all together and, and push through and, and find things to, keep me happy, keep my balance. But it got overwhelming. It got to be way too much. And there was no outlet. There was nothing to do. I couldn't change anything. And I knew my whole world was falling apart. And I couldn't stop it, hard as I tried.
Right.
And so I just cried incessantly. It took nothing for me to start crying. And the thing of it was, is you'll remember that was when we were doing the David Simon stuff. That was part of why that's the corner. I listened back to that, and it's still upsetting to listen to. But I remember what was going on and what had happened up to that point in 2022. Why I was struggling so badly and why I broke down and cried 3 times in that podcast. So yeah, I feel for Opie.
Right.
Is the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
That the fact that he just, that he just falls on the ground and weeps. At some point, it all just becomes too much. And what is left for a man to do but cry?
Right, dude. Right. It becomes so overwhelming. And I do it, but I'm a firm believer and understand that if you experience, something traumatic or something bad like that, or you continue to experience something bad like that, and you just bottle it up and you keep it in, you can't just keep that shit down.
Right.
It's going to manifest it somehow in some way.
Sure.
Outside, and you may not even realize it. So yeah, it may take a big freaking weeping mess for somebody to go like, okay, but Opie's not going to be going for therapy. That's for damn sure. Not that culture.
Sir.
Nope. No, and that's sad. That's another part of the tragic story for Opie, because
I don't think he has health insurance.
Nope. No, he does not. He can't even, if he needs somebody to talk to. And once, the club, as bad as it has been for them, they also realized shit, this is one of our brothers. We need to be there for him too. And it's really interesting to watch them try to balance it, especially, Piney and Chibs are there. Piney's his dad, so his dad obviously feels for him. But, Chibs is like, whenever you're ready, man, just come on back. Even tries to give him his cut, if I remember right. And Opie's like, no, I'm not ready.
Have I made enough euphemisms and metaphors and references to other stuff in this podcast? Have I made enough references to other stuff in this podcast?
Not yet.
Okay, here's another one. CM Punk's line about how could I get well in the place that made me sick? Rings true.
Right. Right, dude.
How can I get past the loss of my wife and all the losses that I've suffered in the place that hurt me in the first place?
Right.
It took all those things away from me. to be Opie, who by and large is probably the most sympathetic character in this entire show. Nothing, I mean, they took everything from him. And then when he finally just said, fine, when he kind of has that Anakin Skywalker moment of, fine, I'll turn to the dark side, whatever. Just kneels down and be like, what is thy bidding, my master? And it ends with them killing him in prison.
Yeah. One other moment as I was scanning down through here, and I did remember writing this down.
Nothing like giving everything you've ever got to a relationship and it's still not being enough and you just end up dead. I can't relate at all.
You're still kicking right now, at least. And you have at least on a path of change, it sounds like. So Opie was trying. There is a moment in this book. Opie did go back, by the way, with them to go help them try and save Jax and the rest of the club. But, as Chibs and Opie are sitting outside, Chibs goes, I have your back. Are you ready? And Opie says, yeah, I got this, which is, again, his final words, if I remember correctly, and I think they've done that before, too. They did that, a reference. So anyway, brings you right back to when Opie got killed. So
it's like Maximus from Gladiator. All right, time to start killing people. I don't love this, but it's my job.
It's my job. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was our discussion.
Had I made enough references?
We got plugs. Make sure to make a reference during plugs. That's. Then we'll have it all. We will have it all covered at that point.
The Radulich and Broadcasting Network drinking game is take a drink every time I reference something else, not even just wire, but anything.
You can't do that to people. You can't do that to people.
The next generation, your relatives in the next generation will be drunk.
It's like the original sin that every man or every person has. It's the original Radulich that those people have that drank because you made references all damn night.
I see through the code of the Matrix, my friend.
Yes, you do. All right. Well, there it is, folks. That is our discussion on the third volume of Sons of Anarchy. Make that the sixth volume.
We managed to get all the way through this and not make a single song.
Not me. I'm sure the listeners are okay with that. The ones that hate AI are very well pleased. They are so glad. All right, yeah. So the next thing that's going to be on the list at some point, I think, is going to be Redwood Original.
No, why don't you just let me do the schedule?
Whoa! I was talking about. You mentioned some Sons of Anarchy stuff that was, and I'm talking about in the vein of Sons of Anarchy. I'm not talking about the schedule itself.
Yeah. The next thing we're doing is all 3 volumes of Sons of Anarchy Redwood Original.
Okay.
But next on source material, the next time Jesse and I get together for source material will be the Dan Slott She-Hulk. That's going to be fun. So we're back to doing stuff on my shelf. So it's She-Hulk by Dan Slott, the complete collection 2004 and the 2005 issues 1 through 5.
All right. Good stuff right there. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to a good Dan Slott book as opposed to his Spider-Man run.
A lot of people do not like that for some reason. I don't understand why. All right. Well, let's get into plugs then. What do you got going on over there at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network?
Oh, well, Jesse, I don't know when you're going to put these up. So plugging things from what'll inevitably have been weeks ago, it doesn't really make any sense.
Possibly months. I think Sons of Anarchy Volume 4 is slated for the 3rd of February.
Yeah. So
it's a while. You want to do general plugs?
At Mark Radulich on TikTok, W2M Network on YouTube and Twitch, and Radulich and Broadcasting Network on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to your audio. That's all of my stuff. Mondays is typically Damn You Hollywood, but occasionally there's also a triple feature or a TV party that we do. Thursdays, there's a lot of triple features. in the new year. But there's also the occasional TV party. Alexis does a lot of my TV parties for me. If you ask her, she says, "Oh, I run your TV department." No, she doesn't. She just does a lot of the garbage I don't want to be bothered with. So it's literally like I want someone to talk about this, and I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, things I do want to do, you can check out Jesse and I talking about heels, which, as we're recording this, hasn't happened yet, but will be in the archive by the time this posts, since we did it in December. I started watching that today, as a matter of fact, season 2.
Great. I can't wait to talk to you about it, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I re-listened to the one that Ronnie and I did a ways back.
Yep.
So,
That's what made me want to do, because I watched both seasons and I was like, I think you guys did one. And sure enough, you had one, and I was like, where the hell is season 2 at? And lo and behold, not one was done. So I get to call shots.
It was partially a victim of the social culling of 2020, of the great social culling of 2022. But it was also Ronnie not being totally dependable.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
same. I'm waiting for you to discover that you also like Sweet Tooth and have that same conversation with me, because we started that one too, and we started that one too. We never went back to it.
Yeah, I've not watched it. I understand it's based on a comic, which I don't remember if you guys covered the comic.
I did it on Source Material Live.
Yeah,
yes.
I wasn't part of that.
No, you were still essential at the time.
I was.
Yeah, that was the second half of 2021. Ask me why I know that, because there's video of it.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's all my plugs. That's what's going on here. So again, check me out at Mark Radulich on TikTok for clips of the show whenever I'm not doing a million other things and entertaining a million other ladies.
Whoa.
Monogamy, what's that? You can you'll find clips of my show there, or my son asking me why I consort with whores.
Oh yes, father. He calls me father.
That's right.
Well,
I like how that's catching on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think I've said it here at the house. I'm pretty sure.
Really? Like,
fairly certain in conversation with Mindy. Colton asked me today. He said, "Father." He calls me father.
My funeral is going to be so fun when you guys talk about me.
Well, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, go check out the Source Material Comics podcast feed. Should be able to find that in any podcatcher. We got all sorts of great shows on there. We have this one right here where we talk about any comic of any era, usually. And then
any comic on my shelf.
Right now, yeah. You can find the Unspoken Issues podcast, where we talk about 90s comics. Have a lot of fun on there. And then Snap Material, not Strip Snap. Snap Material, where myself
you boring vanilla fuck.
Myself and Evan Bevins get together and discuss.
Don't be ashamed of your body, Jesse. Share it with the world.
Yeah, I'm ashamed. I'm sorry. Somebody had gotten, I think Kira had gotten a package from Amazon, and they had accidentally shipped her a bra that she didn't order. So, and this is not, the size was totally incorrect. We'll just put that out there. It was a rather small bra. And she goes, who do we know that wears like a 25A or something like that? And I was like, me. I could fit into a 25A. I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
make sure wear it while you go jogging.
That's a big booby bra. So yes, that is definitely a thing.
I need you now to run down to suno.ai. And do big booby bra. Set to the song, just put it in your mouth.
Oh my
big
gosh,
booby
dude.
Bra.
So last night we had a Christmas get together with our family, and
fucking do holidays on the holiday.
Well, we got so many different families. We don't like. There's no getting every family member together on the 25th.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Don't
do it.
Okay.
I've learned my lesson, you know. So
keep everyone compartmentalized.
one time, that family, this family the next day, this one Christmas Eve, and this one
Jesse's
hours.
29 days of Christmas celebrations.
That's actually, it could be legitimately something.
Mhm.
Anyway, so after my mom and stepdad leave, we hopped on the Suno and made a song about my racist stepdad, which was a lot of fun. So,
Oh, that's fantastic.
not marked public yet, but my gosh, boy, was it a banger. So anyway, so folks, check out Snap Material when me and Evan Bevins get together and talk about Marvel Snap. If you play the mobile game, it's a lot of fun. And I'm pimping out the YouTube too. If you go to YouTube, you should be able to find the Source Material Comics podcast on there. One thing I love about YouTube is, as far as I know, so far, there's not any ads. You may get the ads in the audio version, but as far as it on YouTube, if you listen to it through YouTube, I don't think you get ads over there. So check that out. With that being, you get ads on YouTube listening to our stuff.
Definitely the W2M stuff. I don't know. I would have to go back and look at some of the source material stuff. See if there's ads.
Well, I haven't been hearing anything, at least when I hit play, but maybe that might be something different too. So anyway, I haven't been getting ads. And folks, if you get ads, well, I'm sorry. Then you might want to just listen to the audio version. I can tell you're not getting 9 minutes, like 9 minutes into the podcast. You're not getting ads.
9 fucking commercial breaks during a single sentence.
Right. You're not getting that at YouTube. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So we're out of here. We're getting out of here. That right there is Mark Radulich. I am Jesse Starcher. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye. Bye.